What's up, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Chat 10 Sports. I am Trey Wynn, Mr. Chase Green in the house tonight. Sir, how are you doing? Hey, we're looking pretty damn good tonight, I'll say, compared to our session last week.
Look good, feel good, play good this week, man. We needed that. We needed that bounce back after last week.
Big time, big time. And our teams looked very hobo-ish last week, and they looked pretty good this week. So maybe there's a little correlation mentally there.
That it is. Big jump, big time changeover. Far from a bad Titans performance this week. And shout out to the AFC South for beating the AFC West this week. Holy shit.
WTF. What was that? Because it went from, it's Jekyll and Hyde as far as AFC South right now. And that's something, during the games, obviously, I'd put some money. I had a feeling that the Jags, the Jags right now, I've tweeted about it. I've shared my heart about it. Like, PSA, this is a team we need to be worried about. It's not about the Colts anymore. And forgive me, great weekend, which I do want to talk about my weekend, Chase, because
I can't goodness.
Wait. Yes. But feeling hoarse, so forgive my hoarse voice. Great weekend. Got to go to the Titans game. Didn't go to Neyland, go to Neyland. I had tons. I think my entire family, friends, entire social life was at Neyland this weekend. In case you were, drop a line in the comments. Tell us where you are today and where you're watching from.
How you're feeling.
How are you feeling? Because, the Jekyll and Hyde, the back and forth, the jarring sense of who are my teams and how do I need to feel? I'm starting to feel, just to kick off our Vols session here, I'm starting to feel like it feels like 98 here, where there's legitimately, we're number 8 for the first time since 2006, since your boy graduated from high school. Shout out. We're getting old here. But I know some friends are saying, hey, this is the second time in my adult life that the Vols have beaten the Gators. And it's just these stats where it's like.
It's insane, man.
I can't believe it. But Chase, tell me, what are you thinking as far as just, is the bubble going to pop here soon? Is this real? Are we going to carry air? Are we doing this thing? Where are you at tonight?
Man, I feel really good. Beating Florida is something that I can't. It's not quite like for me, I'm also a Carolina basketball fan, or I'm honestly a Carolina sports fan in all generality, but honestly, Carolina beating Duke may be now succeeded by Tennessee beating Florida. And it just feels so good to finally get over that hump.
No doubt.
And Knoxville was absolute madness on Saturday, from what I heard, man. My little brother was up there, just having a ripper.
Yeah.
Hanging out at Barstool, hanging out at college game day.
That's insane.
Dude, it was like, I was trying to describe to my girlfriend. I was like, think about it this way. We watched that Woodstock 99 documentary not too long ago on Netflix. I was like,
ooh, let's go.
It's Woodstock 99, like legit, same amount of people on a college campus watching football. That's exactly what it is.
Right.
And there's two different giant medias right there at ESPN and Barstool.
No doubt.
That's just anchoring it up, man. Well, I don't know. I know you got to rewatch the full game today, today on the bounce back train for you. What did you think? Any little early takeaways?
I was
a believer.
I think I am a full believer, just because you got to think the Vols look so competent now. And it's a completely different shift from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We are doing things. Guys are moving in and out of huddles and off the sideline, and they're actively participating in the mental part of the game.
Yep,
guys they know what's going on. Obviously, the drama of the Florida Gators, it's always going to be one that's got you on the edge of your seat. My cousin Andy, one of the best parts of my weekend, had a great birthday party, but I was sitting there with my phone watching on YouTube TV, just waiting down to the wire. Obviously, they made you go to the inch of it, but and here's what I come away with. This is SEC football. That's where these games from the FBS teams, where it's all right, we can stomp somebody, but when you have those guys that are well recruited, SEC level recruitment, they're doing obviously something well, and it's not 100% there yet in Florida, but they're not completely off. And you can say the same for the Vols right now. It's still number 8 looks great and it looks shiny on us, and I love it. But the time will tell. And that's something we can talk about all night if we wanted to, Chase, of just what now. But
yeah,
I come away feeling, very confident in Heupel as a head coach. The team, the way he's prepared this team, and it's something too, not to always allude to Vrabel, but I mean, he's a great example as a head coach. But it's something that for Heupels who have the time, have the consistency with his players, and have the ability to do what he wants with the AD. I mean, just the support there obviously is monumental in that tag team of trying to make sure that football program is successful. But yeah, Heupel, I think for me right now, the offense right now is clicking at in a way that I don't think we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest takeaway from all this is you do. I mean, I've mentioned this multiple times, but it adds to it, especially this last game, of you feel like you're always in it and you have a chance to win, or
Right.
you're going to win. I mean, it depends on the circumstances. That was the thing about Florida is you just knew if you're a Vol fan that it was going to come down to some weird play. When they recovered that onside kick, you couldn't have felt good.
Oh
you've seen this song and dance before, man. We've all seen it, heard it, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But this team did the right things. We had a guy that finally broke through, and Byron Young got after Richardson that last play, and then Warren Burrell with that big pick. Not Warren Burrell. Who was that? I can't remember who that was. I'm blanking. Anyways, but yeah, finally got that pick, and it sealed this trajectory because we asked last week if the Vols lose, does this trajectory turn into a whole different era? Are you back on the well, here we're Tennessee again. Oh, here we go. We're gonna look flashy for a couple of weeks. Pitt may not be that good. And Florida was not a great team,
right?
But Tennessee didn't have, and this is a good point here. Tennessee didn't have their best wide receiver and probably one of the top 5 wide receivers in the country, to be honest with you, as far as college football goes, in Cedric Tillman. But Brew McCoy absolutely stepped up.
And I want more of Brew McCoy because that dude, he is a big body. AJ Brown, you know, obviously we know AJ, but he's just he's a dude, and I love it. But yeah, reliable, good hands. But yeah, I'm very happy with what I saw as far as that. I do want to ask you guys, everybody in the chat as well. But Chase, is it time? Are you ready? And is it time for us to put the Tennessee Volunteers in the conversation as contenders?
Ooh, contenders is a tough one. That's what we were talking about today, man. I don't know if you can put them in this category. When you watch the monster it is Georgia, and you understand how good the coaching is in Alabama, and honestly, you know, it's tough because it feels good to see them in a spot where they are in contention, because it's going to take a lot to beat Georgia. I think every fan knows that. You know, to go back to my point before, at least you feel like you have a chance because you're like, oh, you know what? If some weird things happen in college football, which they do all the time, holy crap, Middle Tennessee State beat Miami in Miami this week.
Blue Raiders, baby.
Go Blue Raiders, baby. Appy State went to Texas A&M. Weird things happen.
Did you by chance see the odds in that game prior to?
I didn't. What was it?
Oh, I was like, what? Oh man. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible because you just never know. So
yeah,
Tennessee could have their week. A couple weird fumbles, a couple turnovers, and then it's a scoring race for Georgia and Tennessee. And with a healthy roster and Jabari Small having over 120 total yards this week, and you get Tillman and Sampson back, and I thought our running backs did a pretty good job this week. Anyways, without Sampson, dude, it's crazy to think that you're feeling at least in this defensively. Yes, we've taken a step back. We got a long ways to go. Herb,
I do want to stick here just to piggyback, but the defense for me is the big conversation I think everybody needs to have for the Vols, where offensively, and that's the Heupel. It's the same thing that we've had, you know, again, to the comparison of the Titans. We've had a great solid defense and a good offense, and this feels like a great offense with a mediocre defense. That, I mean, again, that's I understand what you're saying, Chase. Like, we could have our week against Georgia.
That's what it takes.
But it's going to take a lot of the stars aligning for the talent gap to be made up. And that's where I'm just like, do we even have the ability? Because for Florida, like you said, not a great team, good SEC team. I mean, obviously well recruited, but there's a big gap between offense and defensive production, and that's where the big question as far as the contender conversation that we were having.
Yeah, because you give Anthony Richardson had what, over 510 total yards this week.
Mhm.
It's tough to watch because Richardson had his greatest day, and of course it was against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I know there was some like drop coverage type stuff where he's going to get his, but Richardson looked good. He made some good throws. He's a better passer than I expected, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I think that maybe he just had his best day, and it was against Tennessee. But also, when you look at it before this week, it was a rough go. To watch
Yeah.
Richardson try to run around and do things, whew, dog, it was a struggle. And then Tennessee makes him look like a Heisman contender again.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is I totally agree on the defensive part. It is a long, long ways away.
Yeah.
But this offense always at least makes you feel like you're in it.
And that's a good spot to be in as far as just where we have been, and I guess where the entire institution and everybody involved has been at for the last 10 or 15 years. Is they're going to ride and people want to go with them, but now we actually have a team that's looking to be. And again, if we have an offense, like we're saying, if we can wear down defenses by how fast we're moving and obviously the play calling and how we're stretching them from sideline to sideline, wonderful. Play chess on offense. But the defense has to also kind of, I think, make up for that as well. But I do want to ask you this question because there's a lot of hype about it. Obviously, it was talked about, I think, on game day. I think, Pat McAfee talked about it. I'm sure Barstool as well talked about it. What do you make of the hype of Hendon Hooker in the Heisman conversation?
Through 4 games, he's very, very worthy. He moved up to number 4 today in some places, and it's a far off odds. It's 16-1. Or maybe it's 16-1. I guess it's a ways away, but you look at it this way: he would. I don't know about you. He would have to beat Georgia or Alabama, right?
Right.
You think?
Like, well, do you think one or the other, or you think both?
I'd say one or the other. Like if he goes in and he's going to have the stats probably, and then he's going to have his games. If he goes in and beats one of them and is a big part of it, like he was against Florida. I mean, the first time we've had somebody do the 300-yard pass and 100-yard rushing game since Dobbs.
Yeah,
and of course that was against Florida. So, well, I guess maybe he did against Georgia the next game. Anyways, either way, since Dobbs that last couple of weeks, and it would just take a lot. He would have to beat. I think he would have to beat Alabama or Georgia to get there, because Stroud's going to have a pretty good road. I don't know. It would just take a lot, and he's going to have the numbers. He's going to have the numbers, and he's going to have the look. I think that's going to be a big part of it. You know how it is. Tennessee's now going to be in a bunch of big games. Unfortunately, on your performance now, it's fortunate for us because it works out timing wise, but unfortunately that night they're not going to get a night game at LSU.
Yeah, that's. I know we've talked about, we have other reasons to enjoy 12 o'clock, but the actual 7 o'clock obviously is just give it to us, man.
Yeah, I know. LSU at night game, that's prime time TV.
Oh, dude, it's always fun to go in there, and obviously I don't know exactly where LSU is. I don't want to sleep on anybody for any good reason, but yeah, I think that was a little bit disappointing. But I want to see Hendon Hooker kind of, speaking of our trajectory and expectations and what we think about the actual team, I want to see his stock continue to rise, because by the time that we would face a team like Georgia, we would have been tested several times. And I'm not saying that there's a legitimate matchup where we could do it, but if he is at the point where he's really grooving and taking over games and really elevating players, and again, like guys like Brew McCoy coming in and Jabari Small having those, I mean, if we can get healthier there, fantastic. But time will tell. It's just a matter of, keeping our feet on the ground and letting our heads kind of get in the clouds a little bit and saying, all right, can we think like we used to, like a bowl game, like, a big name bowl game, like, not just let's just get to one. But
well, because I mean, they go 10-2, and I know some people ask about this. There's 2 or 3 people in here, but Sugar Bowl's, I mean, the New Year's Six is a chance. I mean, especially now. That was a big win. That was a big win for them to get past their hurdle. You still got it. If you go 10-2, you're probably going to make it.
Yeah.
Probably going to make one of those. That it's all business. Tennessee travels well. Fans love to travel. They'll go down there. They'll make a absolute rain of it, and it'll be wonderful for any sort of money-making factory that is a New Year's Six Bowl or whatever city it's going to be. If it's Sugar Bowl, of course, New Orleans will be a lot of orange, bro.
Oh, for sure. Well,
so
yeah, I want to jump back in here as far as comments because Gavin was agreeing a better chance if he beats Georgia and goes to the SEC championship. But it's always one of those things that even if, a one-loss Georgia's floating right there at number 5 or 4 and someone, that's where I'm thinking I don't want to get back into the playoff if Alabama and Georgia would be there because if you beat them once, hopefully it's enough to knock them out. Marissa Warden, appreciate you joining the show. I think Hooker stays in the conversation, the Heisman conversation, but I doubt he'll get it. I think Hooker, let's see, difficult to win without a Bama or Georgia win. Personally glad for the LSU noon game. I think it might give Death Valley the game in Death Valley gives LSU advantage. I do agree with that because, like we said with Florida, we all thought it would be a curb stomping, like we were saying last week, from a Georgia fan's mouth. But yeah, I mean, as we roll on, I mean, what do you want to see from here, Chase? Because number 8, I mean, obviously things can move as pieces fall, and obviously the top 4 is pretty solid right now, but maybe we see some change. But what are you looking to see from the Vols from here?
You got to go in and not let this bye week. Don't get rusty. And you got to come out and smack LSU in the face. I think LSU is probably going to be a home favorite, actually.
Really?
Or very close. Yeah, they've obviously not come out with lines yet, but as far as the ESPN tracker, they do have, I think I saw it was like 59% for LSU at home. A lot of that is going to depend on if Tillman's healthy. It's awesome to do it once. It's great to see Brew come out. You still have Jalen Hyatt. You still have a lot of guys, and you're going to have Keaton. You're going to have some guys that can play, but it's really nice to have Cedric Tillman come back. Hooker's a little beat up. That boy went in the 10 a couple times throughout the game. You just got to come out and make sure you don't go flat just because you beat Florida. That's my biggest thing, man. You got to come out and beat LSU. This is going to be a big-time game. That's going to be a great Saturday of football. Yeah. I hate it because they're also matching up at the same time as Oklahoma, Texas, and I know that may not be a huge around here to some people, but it's also a monster game, man. So go in, beat LSU, but just don't go flat. You got anything on that?
No, I think as far, Steven Snyder coming off the top rope at some LSU fans will be hungover from the night before.
Them Cajuns. They don't get hungover, actually. I can't say that.
That's true. They know how to go. But I'm telling you now, if Tennessee beats LSU and it's 5-0 with Bama coming to Knoxville, people will be selling their firstborn child to go to the game.
Yep.
That's what it's all about, right? I mean, I saw a beautiful checkered kneeling this weekend. And it was I mean, some of those aerial shots with CBS, I'm just like, you can't do better than that.
It was magical. I would like to know what's the loudest game you've ever been to? Do you know?
So when I was 10 years old in 1998, I think it was the championship season or maybe the 97 year, whatnot, but it was Auburn and there was a pick 6 within like the first 2 or 3 series. And we were in the upper deck at Neyland. And the way that the top just like obviously just exploded. I heard several times on the watch of the DVR that I saw today from Neyland. Just, I mean, the fan base is live, and that's what I'm looking at right now. And it's like, I love it. But yeah, that was probably the loudest. I mean, we were shaking like I was a child. Like, are we going to make it out of here? Because this upper deck was like, I mean, people were just erupting. But it was definitely Neyland. I'm trying to think of other venues. Like, I mean, Nissan can get real loud. I think when we went to that Jags game a couple years back, and Henry had it was a 75-yarder or something. He was coming kind of towards the south side, but no, it erupted. And then the day that the Titans beat the Chiefs at home, My brother and I were club level,
Ooh.
like watching Kalug come off that edge. He blocked the damn kick, and I swear, man, that was one of the coolest days because they gave out those blue Titans flags, and the entire like stadium was just covered like a soccer match, like
Yeah.
like that.
Dude, that's sick.
What about you? I mean, what's the loudest game you've been to?
There's two. I think my number one is actually the Baker Mayfield Oklahoma game.
Really? I remember
Dude,
that game well.
it was heart pounding loud in there. But also 2016 Florida, we all
Yeah.
go, me and my buddies go in there. It was the greatest ticket I've ever had, I'll be honest. Shout out to my boy Adam Roddy. I know he does not watch this because he's not on any of the Instagrams, Facebooks, or any of that stuff. But it is awesome the fact that that was probably the best ticket I've ever had. It was super loud, but I really think that Oklahoma game might have taken the cake. Just something about the magnitude of that, Oklahoma finally coming in. Baker Mayfield was swagging. It was fun. I mean, I hated we lost, but it was one of those deals that seeing Baker in college was electric. And he that was his big coming out party. And I was like, dude, this guy can absolutely take over a game.
Yeah.
So those are my two.
I do think though, as far as I remember back on maybe it was NCAA 14 or maybe earlier generations of it or whatnot, but obviously there was simulations of crowd noise and how crazy Neyland was, and I think it was rated, top 3 at least against the Swamp and obviously the Big House and I mean college football. I think one of these traditional powers that I want to see Nebraska come back, obviously, which I kind of want to get into some broader college football talk. So if you're watching with us, welcome in. This is Chat 10 Sports. Throw your comments down of what stuck out to you. If you had a good bet this weekend, if you won, if you lost, if you want to share that information.
Ooh, tough weekend for you, boy. 1-3 in the Sonic picks.
I hear you, man. I did have one good win Thursday night, which I think we talked about, and I think it happened after. But I did want to throw Marissa Warden's comment here. Loudest UT at LSU 2000 night game, Death Valley, or 16 UT Florida. I was actually looking prior to the show. I was going to try and get a YouTube video up so we could hear the audio. But some of those just Neyland like erupting in Rocky Top. Like that just does it. I don't know, man. That's one of my things, but appreciate it, Marissa. But what stuck out to you this weekend?
Man, that's my cousin Rissa. So
nice.
she comes in and we meet up at a lot of UT games when we can. And I went to Florida with her a couple of years ago too. Oh man, just something about Neyland, those Florida games, dude. Everybody wants they want it so bad that it's just all of your energy. If you believe in whatever energy, and if you don't, you can feel it when you get there, dog. I promise.
Right. Well, it's funny too because my buddy and I, Mike Herndon, we were actually at the Titans game. We were talking about how tight it is at Neyland. And sometimes whenever something good happens, you just want the excuse to just stand up and be like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just give a little elbow shrug or something. Just need it.
Get a little freedom. But no, obviously we talked about the Memphis. I'm saying Murfreesboro, Middle Tennessee State beating Miami Hurricanes this weekend. I'm all over the map from Tennessee from left to right. But what'd you make of that, man? Is that a flash in the pan, or do you think the Blue Raiders actually have something cooking?
I think the Blue Raiders are doing just fine, my friend. I think that's pretty awesome. I would not have expected that, but Miami's coming off a tough loss in Texas A&M. That was a hurtful one, and you think you're just going to grow and roll over MTSU, and they look good, man. They looked really good, actually. I don't want to take too much away from them, but Miami played pretty bad, and they just did not look like they had it. But MTSU came out there and was like, "Hey, dog, we're going to do this. We're not going to play. I'm going to do it." And I loved it. Love to see it. That was one of the funnest games of the weekend. Kent State gave Georgia all they wanted.
I was going to say, what do you think about that? I mean, 22 up on Georgia with all these 5 stars, as Shane Beamer put it out there.
Dude, they look speedy. Did you hear they've made like $5 million off just going to play big programs this year?
And you throw 22 points. That's wonderful. That's a good deal for me.
Yeah. Did you get to watching the noon games on Saturday? I know you were traveling.
I got in town where I was able to, and I caught the Michigan-Maryland game because
that's right. You had the money on the Michigan-Maryland
game. Yeah, your boy had a little free cash again from FanDuel, so I threw it on Maryland. during the game live, and all of a sudden it comes down. As soon as I hit, confirm the bet, Maryland scores a touchdown, puts it within, reach. And I'm like, we're doing this. I think it's actually
back.
Yeah, it's up on our YouTube, so you can actually go back and watch it. But I was sitting there just putting audio equipment away, getting ready to go somewhere. I was like, we're going to do this thing together, because I just was sitting there writing. And this is the weird thing. This is a whole different topic, but just the idea of college football and the highs and the lows and the endorphin rushes and all this different thing, it's addicting, because you're getting spikes of this, like, finally Tennessee and the Vols are doing this, and all of a sudden it's like, the inexplicable loss of the Bills from a Titans perspective. It's all that. But this stuff is addicting. But all that to say, just, I love seeing games like a Maryland team against a good – I mean, I think Harbaugh's doing pretty well up there, obviously, but it's always fun to see a good top-tier team getting the underdogs, best fight on a Saturday.
Well, Gavin's comment here. It's hard to get fired up for Kent State, but also when you're that much dominant over Oregon, when you're the cream of the crop this year, you just got to do it. I mean, you don't have to get fired up. You just have to be Georgia.
Business.
You just got to be baseline Georgia, and you're going to beat Kent State by 28, 30 points, like you should.
But, I mean, do you look into that? I mean, that 22 points, is that like, all right, if Kent State's doing that, what can the Vols do, especially with our offense? And I mean, I'm not trying to be the homer guy.
Yeah, I know. I get
when I'm hearing inside and outside opinions saying the same things of this Tennessee offense, is clicking and firing, and what do you think? I mean, is it something that we should take it with a grain of salt? Or are we talking about, let's go down to Georgia and see what we can do?
Is this like the Rocky moment? He's cut. He's cut. He's cut.
We can all dream.
Yeah, we can all dream, like you see the bionic man get cut.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is. I mean, honestly, I don't read much into it. I saw what they did again with Oregon.
Yeah.
I've seen what they've done all year. I'll be honest, like, who was, they beat, South Carolina. I was trying to think. I couldn't think who that was. Yeah, South Carolina. Oh my gosh, man. That was one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen in my life. Like, SEC on SEC. And I know Spencer Rattler's not good, I'll be honest. He's not very good. He wasn't at Oklahoma. I watch a lot of Oklahoma games because my buddies, two of my best friends in the world are Oklahoma fans, so I kind of like to watch the scramble around. I like to watch Lincoln Riley's offense, to be honest. It's fun.
We can talk about it.
But yeah, Georgia, I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm not going to read too much into it. It gives you a weird optimism, but I don't know. Yeah, it's like I'm not going to read too much into it.
Yeah. So I guess last thing we can talk about as far as college, or last thing I want to talk about, is Oklahoma getting beaten by Kansas State. Obviously about to be moving to the SEC, and it seems that obviously Kentucky is number 7, number 8 now, and as far as AP this week, however the mix is there. Chase, are you coming through okay? Are you hearing me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting a little Wi-Fi emblem, but I'm hearing you fine too, so I just want to make sure. But as far as Oklahoma losing there, 41-34 versus now, 3-1 Kansas State team.
Yep.
Obviously, number 6, that's floating in contention. So, I mean, obviously USC getting a win over Oregon State, but not sure if there's much to talk about there. But
it's something that plagues. Kansas State's not bad. Don't get me wrong; they're a pretty solid team in the Big 12. But this is something that plagues Oklahoma every year.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, they lose to a
team.
Yeah, they always lose to a upper middle class or lower middle class team.
Yeah,
and sometimes that's Texas, sometimes that's Kansas State's been there, like they've got them. That's just what happens. They got beat by Kansas a couple of years ago. I mean, it's just they do this every year, and it doesn't matter who your coach is. It's just the way it is, and I think that's a good Oklahoma team. I think Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback. They clicked on all cylinders. They beat the holy hell out of Nebraska. And that was one of my absolute locks of the century. Was they only gave them 11 points. And I was like, come on, dude. Tell me you don't watch football without telling me you watch football. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know, man. That's one that kind of sucks because you like having all the powers at top, but that's what got Tennessee in the top 8, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, the shimmy and the shakedown, I think, will continue to happen. So the Vols, I mean, I've not seen the lineup, and I'm sure we'll talk about it Thursday night as far as what's upcoming this weekend for Vols fans and kind of the landscape of what we're looking at. But yeah, great college football weekend. I mean, my weekend was wonderful, which I do. We'll close up the show, and I'll tell you guys a little story time at the end. If you
love
stick
that,
around.
love that.
Let's talk some NFL because obviously we opened the show, big shakeup with the AFC South. Kansas City losing to the Colts. Was it Aaron Benemy and old Patrick Mahomes going out on the sideline?
Yeah, dude. Do you see Shady McCoy's comment by chance on that?
I sure did. He doesn't even, he just wants to argue with his players and doesn't know anything about what is that play calling and offensive design.
Bold, my friend.
I know, but I mean, hey, dude, no, I mean, the Shady was in those meetings, right?
Yep, sure
and
was.
You gotta wonder, why is he still the offensive coordinator, and why hasn't he had that job? And I know there's some Rooney Rule stuff that people like and some people don't like, but does the guy have some argumentative streak in him?
Is that another reason that he's not got a head coaching job?
That's the question for me. And one other topic I want to talk about as far as NFL is the Jets and Quinnen Williams, getting a little bowed up and aggressive up in his coach's face. Did you see that? He looks like
big scary man. Big scary man got mad at the big coach. Yeah,
not sure the context there, but I just thought, man, it's getting at that point in the season where the temperature's getting cooking and teams are finding out what they are. But as far as the AFC South goes, to circle that back, I mean, what's the bigger story for you? I mean, the Colts beating the Chiefs or the Jags, 38-10 was it as far as the Chargers?
Yeah, Jags. I'll say this. I'll give a small amount of credit to the Colts. But here's the thing. If you watch that game, they weren't very good. That was a game the Chiefs lost. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. It's just Matt Ryan's not very good. I don't want to look too much into that. I would have loved to have known if you'd have taken it. I mean, this is the best division in football, supposedly in the AFC West versus the worst in the AFC South.
Literally our conversation last week.
Literally our conversation this week. And I would have loved to have known what an AFC South parlay would have been, excluding, because I would like AFC South versus AFC West. I'm not sorry, Texans. You screwed it up for us this week.
Yeah, they were the one parlay. I was one win away from about 400 or $4,000 actually, because the Texans, and it was the Bill. I told you last week. I think you saw my parlay of Bills, Dolphins, Fins going, and then a few others, but the Texans clogged that one up. So
those sons of bitches.
I do want to say this. I don't know. We can't see if we see Facebook user on this end, so if it shows the user there, well, FTC, we all know what that is. Colts, but my biggest concern, what keeps me up at night right now, as far as from a Titans perspective, is the damn Jacksonville Jaguars. And we talked about it last week, and I think every week we're like, all right, we're seeing some things. I saw a couple, highlights with Tavon Walker basically assaulting a man. And thank you, Brandon. I thought it was him, but
if I had to pick somebody that was FTC,
no, but I look around the division right now, and I don't know that I'm convinced even right now. After a Titans, I mean, not a convincing win, they kind of survived against the Raiders, and obviously I feel that we're that team that we're going to be at 500 or maybe just a couple games above 500, and maybe that's all it takes in this division. But this last weekend makes me think otherwise, especially with the Jaguars.
Yeah, because the Jags actually look pretty good. You're frustrated with the way the Titans ended the game, but the Jags look pretty dang good. And if Herbert's going to be hurt like that, then God bless the Chargers, because that's going to be a tough road. That man is another one. It's very similar to the Bills. You don't think the Bills will be very good without Josh Allen? I think the Chargers will be pretty bad without Justin Herbert. And I know you could say that for a lot of quarterbacks, but man, that's a tough one to watch for the Chargers because I really didn't think the Jags was that good, but they can score, man. They can score. They get creative.
Yeah.
Dougie's doing a great job down there. I hate to say it.
It is the golly, Doug Peterson.
I know.
I continue to think about Urban though. I just think of how bad he was for that organization. Obviously, the attention and I mean that whole thing. I mean that could be a 30 for 30, like the season that Urban and Florida teams just woof.
Oh my gosh,
we could go all day,
dude.
But I do think as far as just obviously the Bills losing. Are the Finns real? Like, what are the Chargers now that Herbert's? I knew last Wednesday or Thursday there was a presser where he had gotten a question. How are you feeling? I'm good. How are you? No, how are your ribs? I'm good, thank you. And he was like just so tight, and I'm like,
yeah,
this dude's hurting right now. And ain't looking
tell too. You could tell it's like a cool thing to like watch the warrior mentality sometimes, but dog. That can't feel good.
Yeah.
And I was asking. Saturday. I had one of my good friends, Chad, over. He's a PT over here at Erlanger, and I was just asking about the rib stuff. We were just talking about Herbert. He and G were over. Shout out if you're in Chattanooga, the word with G, noon to 2 on Monday through Friday. So yeah. Anyways, so they were over at the house. We were just talking about how painful and how they can play because Chad also does work with UTC. So he was just talking about like it's one of those like if they don't have anything that scares you initially from like puncturing a lung or puncturing anything internally, they can throw them out there. And also that's another thing. That's a great spinoff. How is that doctor still employed in LA?
Yeah. So let's just some context here for anyone that does not know. Tyrod Taylor had the same doctor that evaluated. I think I don't know if he full on did anything to Herbert, but evaluated him and has worked with him. But Tyrod Taylor had a literal punctured lung and had some complications or had a wrong diagnosis or whatever it was. And actually, I think he has an active lawsuit. Is that right? Is that
yeah? Because
pretty spicy, but
because that moved Herbert into the starting job.
Sounds like another documentary title.
Fishy, dude.
Yeah, podcast waiting to happen. 30 for 30 on podcast. But no, that's one of those things. Herbert's ribs were actually covered in barbecue sauce. No, Herbert definitely needs 2 games off. I don't know. I'm not familiar enough to be able to say it or speak to it, but it seems like if they're going to be a team to last into the later half of the season, you're going to want your quarterback ready to go full tilt. So
yeah.
But speaking of, I do want to move to Titans as far as just this week. Big news of Taylor Lewan kind of going down, which we did kind of talk about and fear it. And I know everyone's saying this is probably the last time we've seen Lewan in a Titans jersey, and maybe in the NFL. A lot of decisions for him to make. I saw him walking around. This was obviously post game where he I think through some of the media members had floated around, and it was a video of him walking through the stadium and kind of signing things. But he seemed to be in pretty good spirits. If I'm just reading body language, I'm obviously by no means, and he's a professional.
Yeah,
but he seemed to be like in a good space to be out there. He seemed to be walking not 100%, but do you think this is it for him? Like I just want to put it out there because there is a hope. We still don't know what the injury is, what the timetable is. Give him a full year and feel 100%. Rehab the ACL if it's not that, or whatever it is. But where are you at with Taylor Lewan?
I think it's in a Titans uniform, but I just feel like he's still going to play, man.
You feel like he still wants to play?
I still feel like he wants to play. I could be wrong there because this could be another injury. It's like, man, do I really want to just not walk when I'm even 40? Mm-hmm. I mean, especially at his pace.
But it's such a complex situation where the dude's got Barstool, just like the Empire, waiting to open their arms to him, and he has all that to do. And I mean, they're killing. I mean, it's something. They're continually getting better, and obviously, it's the Barstool deal has helped and. Great. I love watching them do that. But like, I think this is Brandon here saying unless Lewan restructures,
oh God,
it's unfortunate, but money matters. We've seen the Titans ship Jarrell Casey for a 7th rounder just to free up the money, and it's one of those things that Lewan, I mean, it's a business. And at the end of the day, he can either ride off into the sunset or he can get cut and hit the market and potentially lose his connection here in Nashville. That's why I would say just if I'm in his position.
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably doing the same thing. I mean, as somebody that's in their 30s as well, you just start, and he's got a kid. He's got 2 kids, doesn't he? He's got 2 kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 kids. He's got. I think that's the biggest worry for so many players too. I'm not speaking. I don't know, but that's the one thing about podcasts and media nowadays. You can hear actual examples from players.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing is their biggest worry is, what am I going to do? He
Yeah.
has the world is his oyster now.
Well, and here's what I don't think people realize about Bussin'. Like, you got to realize the trajectory that they're going at as well for merchandise. Like, they're going into all these fan bases and making the boys shirts with obviously the Vols colors and the Bills color. It's like every fan base is going to know the boys.
Yeah.
And it's Lawana. I don't know the entire deal with Barstool, but it's like whatever that structure is for Will and for Taylor to pay out, like merchandise is going to be the moneymaker for these podcasts and obviously deals and Chevrolets on with them. It's like he has that just waiting there.
Yep.
And you got to think of the stress of like if he tried to stay in Nashville and go live somewhere else during the season. And it's like, that's why I just think, just not to dwell on the one all night, but just to bring that up for the sake of, I think Dennis Daly did well from what I had seen and kind of as far as the feedback I got. An offensive line, it's crazy. Through 4 games, I think they're the 3rd fewest given up sacks this year for the offensive line for the Titans.
Yeah,
obviously,
weirdly enough.
Henry kind of had a good game on Sunday. But what was your biggest like take away from the game on Sunday in positive and negative sense?
Positive. The first half, that looked like really good Titans offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, you know what your strengths are.
Yeah.
I like Bobby Trees. I love him to death. But
he
he
got
ain't
probably 5 or 6 receptions.
Yeah, he's not a superstar number 1, and that's okay to say, but he's a really good one. Treylon Burks is a really good wide receiver, I think. But it's run heavy, throw to tight ends, get creative on screens, and then hit Robert Woods on a crossing route or a slant.
Yeah.
And it's just pretty methodical. It's very well timed. It's a little ground and pound. It's Henry doing his thing. And it was perfect. It was that first drive was perfect Titans football. That should be done every single time.
Well, here's the weird thing, because we've talked about the complexity of the issues with the Titans is it a coaching problem with Downey? Because like you're saying, first half, he was making great calls, like getting everybody involved. Jeff Swaim's apparently like the tight end 1 now. Like he's the best tight end blocking tight end. Thank you. Obviously, but he is reliable as far as getting that Jack Doyle-esque. That's my comparison for him. He's a poor man's Kelsey. Physically looks just like the guy, but he's able to get the ball and just put it down and convert. And great, not to dwell there, but like you're saying, there are things and ways to make the offense work, but with the roster kind of evolving as it has, obviously we've talked about last week, are Lawan, Henry, and Tannehill going to be on this team next year? Because it makes a lot of sense for the sake of that cap. And if the cap's going up, then you're going to free up a lot of cash. And you can, who knows? John Robinson could shuffle the deck in no time, depending on that landscape. But offensive scheme wise, it's like they're going to either double down with this, and either some type of rebuild is going to have to happen, because you can't just transition this roster into a new age passing heavy offense, even if Malik is that guy at some point, right? Like, yeah. I just think it's so simple, because the Giants, that first half of the Giants game, it was the same thing. Great offense, looked wonderful. I don't know if they made any adjustments, because Paul Kaharski, it's like they didn't do anything special. The Titans just went flat. And I'm like, we're competing against the Raiders. Josh,
the only 0-3 team.
Yeah, Josh is getting sat down with the owner, Mark Davis, for a lengthy meeting because he's not winning games. And here we are like, yeah, we beat him by 2 points. Yeah. I love the win. I love it. It's an ugly win, but I'm just like, I feel like I'm coming into the realization that this is a mediocre team. And obviously, I think every year we have these crazy high expectations. And if we have wins, great. But I don't think, especially if I feel like the Jaguars, man, are just a fire that is inching closer to a freaking like fuel tank. And I think it's about to explode. And I think they could be one of those teams that could steal a third seed, second seed. Who knows? But am I being ridiculous right now?
No, because the Titans didn't score in the second half.
It's pathetic.
And you even mentioned it. We were a second half team last year, you know? They were a second half team last year.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind that first 3 games, Titans have scored on their first drive. And they've looked pretty solid doing it.
Yeah.
This time, I don't think they went flat after that for a while. And then second half, no score. You just hold on. The defense, and to go to Gavin's point, the corners look somewhat better.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought Fulton had some good moments. I thought he had some good moments. Mac Hollins is pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a Carolina fan, so I've kept up with Mac. Pretty good receiver. Is he Devontae Adams? No. But you know what we did last week against the Bills? Oh, yeah. Let's let him go crazy because we're a pretty bad cornerback set. So that's how the Titans were like, hey, we ain't doing that this week.
Right.
We ain't going to do that. We're going to shut down their number one. Sure, he got a touchdown, but he only got, less than 60 yards. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like they've got a little ways to go in the secondary as far as the cornerbacks go. So, even to go back, I'm not sure who said that. I mean, you'd be looking back to do some finding of cornerbacks and wide receivers if you are the Tennessee Titans in the offseason.
Well, see, that's the thing. I feel like the Titans, in a sense, as far as their roster, it's like a tarp that's full of rainwater that you have out there that just overnight you left it out, and it's just one hole away from the whole thing falling through. I genuinely feel that. I think the idea that I don't think they can afford or have the ability to because the lack of availability with shuffling players the way that they did. Now they can go out and sign guys off practice squads left and right. Hopefully Josh Gordon does something, and who knows, man. But I don't think this team, as if this is what we have as far as roster depth, what's out there that's going to be better that's not already the signed and tried out and worked out and cut out. It's like, what are we doing? Because my thing is like either we accept it, we realize it, we lean into it and say, this is the point that we lean into the rebuild. Tannehill's going to go. Malik's not 100% ready, but we're going to surround him with as much talent. The cap goes up. Henry could be gone. We have a ton of cash. There it is. We'll, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know if I'm crazy, but let me know.
No. It's really hard because you can win this division still. And Gavin just said it. Jacksonville could be Arizona of last year. Could be. But everybody in this division is looking at it like we can win it. Still to this day. Jacksonville looks the best through 3 games. But cool.
Yeah.
We saw what happened last year to a lot of teams. People start off hot and they just, they fade away. These early games, gosh, the MVP races and all this other stuff talking out, it just never winds up being there. There's been plenty of years where you're like, Russell Wilson's going to win the MVP. Kyler Murray's going to win the MVP. And they don't even sniff the conversation. Plenty of teams that started off 0-2 and then make it Super Bowl. Yeah. Right. I don't know if that's true, but
11% chance of making the playoffs. If you're
I'm just making up shit. I wanted to. I knew that was total lie. I was like, I got a pretty low percentage, but I'm just saying.
No, but crazy stuff does happen. I just don't think, and this is, I was talking to somebody about it. Like, I don't know that the Titans could have enough right things go the right way and just not have these issues because I know
they're just not talented enough.
But we had a comment of, fire downing. I don't think, and I think several different, fan film rooms, Titans film room, and James Foster with A to Z Sports has been out there and just They've broken this thing down, saying, "Look, this team is not 100%, fixable by just replacing the offensive coordinator or Tim Kelly just jumping in the driver's seat, and all of a sudden all the issues are gone. There is serious depth issues. Great point here. Cody Hollister shouldn't be at the field at all, except for special teams, maybe on that punt and kickoff return. But my thing is like I don't know that I'm like, yay, tighten up. And I know like I'm supposed to be this like, yay, let's roll, tighten up. I'm the realist. I gotta be real because I don't feel the same. Who run it? Like, I think the Jags run it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what the Titans can do. It's a rock on a hard place, but that's just my little rant where 1-2, and I do think we have a great position right now with, Colts, Commanders, Colts again. Like we could get some wins back to back to back, but are we going to be that team that's the perennial, make it to the playoff and get kicked out in the first or two rounds?
Honestly, the Titans are the Pittsburgh Steelers of last year if they make it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go in and you're going to feel like it's a wasted game because you're going to go in there and get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Against a really good team. If that's Buffalo again, if that's whoever, you're going to go in there and you get your ass kicked. It's not going to be fun. But I guess if you want to count making the playoffs, cool. And love it. I'll get you can we get him? We'll pick out his favorite jersey. His jersey. We're gonna get him a nice like Trevor Lawrence jersey or
get him a crop top.
Yeah, I'll get you something good. Duval. I want one of those big Duval shirt. Like the little like escalated letters. Yeah, but I think I'm kind of with you. I mean, I think the Titans can still make the playoffs, but it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah,
it's gonna be ugly.
And I just to respond to Gavin's comment here, I've read the first half. If the Titans can figure out the defense, it's a big if, but the offense will come around at the end of the day. And know that it's not promised, Gavin. Like nobody knows what the Titans. There could be Lawan's out, Harold Landry's out. We're in like week 3, week 4 now. Like no, the bubble is popped because Harold Landry being gone, especially for the defense. When we started and thinking, hey, if Autry and Simmons and the fearsome foursome, if Big Jeff and the sack bunch or whatever we were saying, if they can continue to have that success, then maybe the secondary. But it's like no. And then Zach Cunningham is holding his elbow. It's like we're already dying at inside linebacker. Like what do we have to do here? And who do you sign off the street now? Like is Will Compton coming through? Because year 10, I want year 10 to come through. I would love that.
Yeah. It'd be great. But how good is he, dog?
Right.
We love his personality, but how good is he though?
Yeah. I mean,
Weaver looked good. I'll say that. I don't want to keep harping on that. Weaver looked good.
Sorry, my
fix him up, baby. Fix him up.
Anyways, I know we're getting close here. I do want to share my story. Let's have any other NFL topics before we go though.
Miami Dolphins.
What do you make of it? Because I feel like that division right now, that's a big statement game early in the season. Obviously, they're going to go back and play them again. But I think the big conversation of Tua is, injury. Is it a lower back? Is it a concussion? Was he going to,
He's not in concussion protocol. Just saw that before we hopped on.
Which is strange.
Yeah.
There's smoke, there's fire with these rumors of,
Yeah.
Even the whole dramatic stumble and guys holding them up. It's like, dude, this dude's and I get it. Like the NFL is going to go through the entire thing of like, we're doing our due diligence to make sure our players are protected, but no one's stopping them from going out there. And obviously no one's forcing Tua to go out there as well.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. But I mean, as far as if I think the Dolphins are real, that's a big statement win. I mean, I didn't see the entire game. I'm not a box score guy as far as how do you read that, but I didn't see enough of it to know how it really went to say if the Dolphins are going to be real. Maybe I'll speak to that on Thursday when we come back this week. But yeah, dude, I'm impressed by the Dolphins. I will say.
I'll say this: that was a game where the Bills looked better than the Dolphins, but the Dolphins won.
Yeah,
that's okay to say. I got to watch a lot of we couched it hard, double TVs up.
Let's go.
I don't know if Hannah loved it. I don't know if it was her best day ever, but You boy had a great Saturday, Sunday.
Good job, Hannah. Appreciate the
yeah.
sacrifice.
Yep.
Bravo.
Yeah, but getting to see some of that game, red zone it hard. But I don't know, man. They're good. I'll say that. Say that. They're good no matter what. They kind of helped open a door beating Baltimore, but also Baltimore being good. Bills are good, obviously. I still think, they're going to lose a game and people are going to overreact a little bit, but I think that they're still prime time.
Yeah.
But the AFC is still really damn good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can say the same thing about the NFC, but the AFC is pretty wide open.
Yeah.
So
I will say, though, I mean, I know Gavin's made this point that for the Titans, there's issues, but it ain't over till it's over. But I mean, some of these teams, I feel like the Dolphins especially are just stacking up big AFC wins that could come down and be very significant whenever it matters, which is exciting for them because, it's always fun to see these teams come through and rebuild and go for it. But
all right, let's get story time.
Yeah, story time, and then we're gonna call it a night because your boy.
You got fumes coming out of you, dog.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So this weekend I had originally planned to go to Nashville. My cousin had asked me for her 30th birthday would I play some music and do all that kind of stuff, which of course I was like a wonderful time. So I went up Friday, and a couple of days before that I talked to a friend of mine about recording the podcast Saturday morning. Saturday night was the birthday party, and I was like, maybe we'll go see some people at the Titans tailgates and have a great weekend. And all that came through and had a great time. And all of a sudden Sunday morning hits and talking to my buddy Caleb Bagwell and let's go to the tailgates and maybe we'll go hit a bar somewhere and finish the game or whatever. And the Herndons had reached out and said, hey, are you in town? Are you going to come to the tailgates? And by some means, they hooked us up with 2 tickets to get in the game. Like,
shout out to our boy.
Yeah. And jump back a little bit on Saturday. My buddy JB, Jonathan Brown, we were talking about Pilgrimage Festival in Franklin. Chris Stapleton's playing. So went to the Titans game. Brian Hager, Chat 10 Sports events, has been an incredible guy for our Chattanooga Titans fan group. But had gone to the Saturday show, and then we're coming back down to watch the game with the Chat Titans fans. So he gave us a great price on 2 bands and a parking pass. And your boy got to see the Avett brothers, hang out with some incredible friends, and just see a lot of good people. And man, I come back today, took today off, just like had a good restful day. Got prepared for the show, but just a damn good weekend.
Good stuff, baby.
A good refiller kind of thing. So checked off some lists. First music festival. I'm sure I'm going to go back every year.
First music festival. Wow.
Yeah, I was never one of those guys like just to get out there. I would love to go camp and do it, but yeah, Pilgrimage is like right there in Franklin. If you've never done it, highly recommend it. But it was a wonderful experience for me.
Hells yeah, that sounds awesome.
Highlight of your weekend besides the couch sitting. What was the best part of your weekend?
Oh, what was it?
Pizza rolls, Hot Pockets.
No. We this. Oh, so halftime of the game, it's just 3 bros and a dog. Hannah's not made it back. She's coming back from California. And me and G and Chad just went outside, and it was a beautiful day in East Tennessee. And we went outside and threw football for like 45 minutes. Like we missed like the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
That second half. And it was great. And Rocco's running around chasing. It was a blast. Just like throwing ball, looking like a bunch of basic white dudes that are, in the 30s. It was great. It was great.
If Pumpkin Spice was involved, I'd have concerns, but little fall.
No, dude. And it was the perfect Nike football. It's a little bit older. It's still got that sticky on there. So we were just making like sick catches because it's just like it feels like you're wearing a glove, to be honest.
The one-handers.
Like it was a little bit smaller. It was great. I mean, it wasn't the small like Nerf style, but it was like not quite a kid, somewhere in that middle range. But it was a small enough where your boy could just, catch that thing with one hand like it was nothing. It was great. It was great. And that was so much fun. I know it's so basic, but it's like it's such a simple task. But that feeling when you just go toss around with your boys for 30 minutes.
But I'm sitting here thinking, it makes me itch for a turkey bowl,
Yeah.
Chat 10 Sports Turkey Bowl, flag football tournament or something.
So sweet.
A lot of cool things. But no, we had a Turkey Bowl going for years and years and years. But no, just getting out there and doing it, especially on a Saturday with the boys, of course. But yeah, it sounds like a pretty damn good time for me. But
Good time, bro. Well, glad you're back. Get some rest tonight.
yes, sir.
Everybody else, we appreciate you tuning in, commenting. We love yins. Do it again. We'll see you Thursday night.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one. Make sure and follow us, Chat 10 Sports, and you can find us anywhere on social, chat10.com. If you're not already listening to our podcast on demand anywhere, you can also watch on YouTube, and Spotify now actually has videos. So our beautiful faces and graphics and everything here will be also available on Spotify. But appreciate you joining us. Thanks for listening, watching live, and we will see you Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. Have a great weekend.